This right here is the Kukirin G2. And this right here looks almost exactly the same, except for this is its bigger brother, the G4. Two totally redesigned electric scooters by Kukirin, and today we're going to be focusing mainly on the G2. I've already done a review on the G4. You can go check that out after you get done with this video. But today we'll feature the G2 and some of the similarities and differences between the G2 and the G4. So if you're trying to decide between the two, this will be a good video to watch. They are definitely for two different levels of riders, but at the same time have a lot of the same features and specifications. So today we got a lot to get to. Let's go ahead and get started with our full review and road test of the Kukirin G2 electric scooter. The Kukirin G2 is currently priced at $649. Now, if that feels a little bit steep to drop all at once, no worries. They offer 4 interest-free payments of $162.25 through Klarna, which makes it a little bit easier to swallow. Now, you're also going to get a free scooter bag included with your purchase, and you can choose between the standard no-seat version or the seated option for an extra $50. Now, this is perfect if you prefer a little bit of extra comfort when you're on your longer rides. Shipping, it's completely free, and taxes and duties are also covered, so there's no surprise fees waiting for you at checkout. What you see is what you pay. You gotta love that. All right, so let's talk about some of the similarities. Just looking at the front of it here, you can see the lights and the screen and everything up top here looks exactly the same. Coming down the stem, this one has a hollow stem, the G4, while the G2 has a solid stem. So there's a difference, but still very similar. Now, looking up front, the folding mechanism right here is exactly the same as the folding mechanism over on the G4. Coming down to the front wheel, you got much wider tires here on the G4 than you do on the G2, so there's a difference. But the suspension down there looks exactly the same as the G4. The front forks look the same if you're looking at both of those. And coming down to the deck here, the deck looks almost exactly the same. The only difference would be the size, which we're going to go over in a minute. You also have that nice footrest up there, which looks exactly like the footrest up there on the G4. So again, another similarity. Coming around to the back here, you've got the rear fender, which looks exactly like the rear fender on the G4. You've got rear suspension in there, which looks exactly like the rear suspension on the G4. You got the charging port right here on the side. You got the charging port right there on the side on the G2. Coming up in the cockpit here, there's the G4 cockpit. Here's the G2 cockpit. Exactly the same. Same throttle, same grips, same power button, same brakes. Over here you got a blinker. Over here you got a blinker, horn. So your cockpits are almost exactly the same between the G2 and the G4. The G2 is powered by a single 800-watt rear hub motor, which gives you a top speed of about 27 miles an hour. By comparison, the G4 ramps things up with its single 2,000-watt motor and a blazingly fast top speed of 43 miles an hour. The G2 is equipped with a 48-volt, 15-amp-hour lithium-ion battery. Now, they give you a claimed range of up to 35 miles, but we're going to test that range during our ride. Now, charging takes about 8 to 9 hours from empty, so it's best to plug it in overnight or when you're not in a rush. The G4 comes in with a more powerful and much larger capacity lithium-ion battery. This battery is a 60-volt, 20-amp-hour lithium-ion battery, which gives this a little bit longer range than you're going to get on the G2. But it does come with a downside. It takes a lot longer to charge. For tires, the G2 is rolling on 10-inch standard width tubeless tires with what looks like a hybrid off-road tread. This should be ideal for street riding and light off-road paths. Now, the G4 steps it up to 11-inch extra wide tubeless tires. Now, while these extra wide tires do add to stability at high speeds, they're really not good in turns. They kind of feel like you're riding on a flat surface, a flat tire rather than a round tire. I prefer the setup on the G2 much better. The deck on the G2 measures about 18 inches long and 7.3 inches wide. Now, it is compact, but it still gives you enough foot space for a comfortable stance. The G4's deck is slightly larger at 20 inches by 8.66 inches wide, giving you a little bit more wiggle room. The weight is another big differentiator. Now, the G2 weighs in at just 57 pounds, making it easier to carry, lift into a car trunk, or store indoors. Its folded height is just over 21 inches and 49.5 inches long. The G4, on the other hand, weighs in at 81.5 pounds. Folded up, it measures 53 inches long and 22 inches tall, which is definitely more to manage if you're short on space and you don't want to hurt your back. Now, both the G2 and the G4 are IP54 water and dust resistant, which means they can get dusty on dusty roads. You can ride them on wet pavement, maybe some light puddles, but that's about it. They are not waterproof by any means, so don't take them in any deep water. Now, they both have the same maximum rider weight as well, coming in at 265 pounds, which should take care of most full-size adults. Well, now that we know everything there is to know about the G2 and how it compares to the G4, what do you say? Let's take the G2 out on a ride. We're going to test out its acceleration, its top speed. We're going to do a brake test. We're going to also see if we can find some off-road conditions and much, much more. So come along with me. We'll get some real range results at the end of the video. Let me get geared up. Let's go ahead out on our ride. All right, so I got the GPS app on so we can get some real range results at the end of the ride and a GPS verified top speed. So they say this can go 27 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and find out. We're at 10. We're at 15. We're at 22. We're at 25, 27, 28, 29. Oh, we're gonna go past it. 30, 31. Holy moly. Can we get 32? 32. 32. There it is, 32, 33. 33, there's 33, holy moly. Wow, all right. Well, they say the top speed of the G2 is 27 and we just touched 33 miles an hour. I'll be interested to see what the GPS app says we actually went and how accurate it is to the speedometer on here. But that's awesome. All right, so now I want to test the brakes. We're going to do a high-speed brake test. They say this thing can stop from between 13 and 33 feet. So from 25 miles an hour, let's go ahead and find out. Woo! Slam down the brakes right there. You can see my little strip here. So I don't know if you know this, but in a former life, I was a surveyor, and we found out, as far as pacing, that every 2 steps is about 5 feet. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 26, 27. I stopped in about 28 feet, give or take, which is well within that 13 to 33 feet that they talk about. Now, another thing that I noticed is that while I did make a mark, I did not skid to a stop. Those brakes did not lock up. Those tires gripped on tight to the asphalt, and I came to a controlled stop. So good brake test here on the G2. Now you can tell that Kukirin really tuned down the acceleration on both the G2 and the G4. Now the G4 has a 2,000 watt motor and this has an 800 watt motor, but when you hit on that throttle full speed, it doesn't give you that instant on power like some of the other scooters out there, which is actually kind of nice sometimes. It just really consistently ramps up once you get going, so it's not slow, it's just not instant on like some other scooters out there. Now, while the deck is a little bit smaller than the G4, it does have enough room for my big size 11 shoe with plenty of room there. And my other foot is back here on the back. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, on this footrest. Now, I can get my other foot on here if I wanted to and ride comfortably. So there is enough room here on the G2, even for 2 size 11 shoes. All right, I wanted to stop and do a range check here. So it looks like so far we've gone 7.64 miles and we've hit a top speed of 30 miles per hour, which is awesome. So we've definitely exceeded that 27 mile an hour that they say this will go, but 7.64 miles, we have 7 out of 10 battery bars left, so about 70%. Let's keep on going. So the maneuverability here on the G2 is really nice. I like it much better than on the G4. So the G4 has those extra wide 11-inch tires, and it almost feels like you're riding on a flat surface or a flat tire, not a round tire. Whereas these guys are standard width 10-inch tires, and they're much more maneuverable. You can't really do this on the G4 easily without feeling like you're gonna fall over because they're so wide. So I really like the tires on the G2 much better than I do on the G4. All right, let's go check it in some grass here. Riding some fairly thick grass, hitting 10 miles an hour without any issues. So as far as grass is concerned, I don't think it's a problem here on the G2. Even with just an 800 watt motor, we're able to still hold 8 or 9 miles an hour, so no problem with grass. So we're down to 5 battery bars now, so we're about halfway down in our battery, and I am actually pretty surprised because I'm going almost against the wind right now, and I'm still able to hold 28 miles an hour. So this 800 watt motor is able to still keep us at 28 miles an hour going against the wind with only a half a battery left. All right, so I found some big rocks here. I figured we could do a suspension test on and see how well it does. Wow, it's actually really not bad at all. That suspension is nice. Wow. All right, I'm not gonna try my luck out here. This is really soft sand and I've already broken ribs before, so we're gonna keep ourselves from doing that again. But let's check these rocks again for a suspension test. I mean, it really is not bad, not even near as bad as some other scooters that I've tested. So the suspension really does a good job at dampening those bumps, especially going over big old rocks like that. That's awesome. All right, let's check the suspension here and let's jump off a curb and see how well it does jumping off a curb. Woo! I had no problem at all. All right, let's try it again, going off a curb. I mean, it's like riding on clouds. That's incredible. I want to do that again. This is some of the squishiest and nicest suspension that I've seen on a scooter. And again, no problem. No clickety clanks, no noises. Great suspension. 5 stars for sure. All right, well, that was a lot of fun today. It's getting towards the end of the day here, and the rain finally stopped, and I finally was able to get out and ride and film this video. So let's get our final range results here today. We have 2 battery bars left, and we went 21.75 miles. So that's over halfway, which is good because typically you get about half of what they say you're gonna get when you ride like we did today. Now keep in mind, if you're a lighter rider than me at 200 pounds, you're gonna get more range. Also, if you're riding slower than me or in a slower mode, you're gonna get more range. But I'm pretty impressed at the fact that I was able to get 21.7 miles today, have 2 battery bars left on something that's supposed to get 34 miles. And I rode in race mode as fast as I could, in grass, off curbs, and things like that. So that's pretty impressive. Also, we were able to hit a top speed of 30 miles an hour. So we were able to exceed the stated top speed by 3 miles an hour, which is always a good thing. Now, let me go ahead and give you my final thoughts here on the G2. My first final thought is going to be that if you're a beginner, if you're looking for your very first electric scooter, I wish this was out when I started with my electric scooter because I paid $1,500 for my first electric scooter. And you can get this one right here for $650 without the seat and $699 with the seat, which is an incredible deal for what you get. It's almost exactly like the more expensive and more powerful G4 in a lot of ways. The only real differences are the size of the motor, the battery size, and the tires. The tires I actually like better on the G2 than I do on the G4. They're just too wide on the G4 and it's really hard to turn and maneuver. While on these, you got those standard width 10-inch tires where it's much, much nicer. So overall, I'm a fan of the tires on the G2 more than the G4. But the only 2 things that I think they need to change on both scooters, well, one thing on both is these stupid kickstands. These kickstands are horrible. I mean, look how close, one finger, look how close this is to tipping over. Here we go. I mean, it's not even stable. It just wants to rock, just touching it a little bit. Look at this thing rock. So you guys got to change the kickstands on the G2 and the G4. They're horrible. But other than that, I don't have anything bad to say about it. The brakes worked well. They worked within the range that they gave us of 33 feet. We were able to stop in 28 feet. The folding mechanism is the same. It's super simple. There's a little pin you pull out. You just push this, it goes down, and it locks in place. So that's super simple and easy to use. The suspension on the G2 is just like the G4, super soft and cushy. As you saw going over those curbs, I mean, coming down was like, it was nothing. Other scooters, they'd be clickety clanking and you'd be bottoming out, and you don't do that on this at all. So I really like the suspension. The acceleration, both scooters really don't accelerate off the line really fast, but once they get going, they really ramp up. So I like that because you don't really want to hit the gas from a stop and have to, whoa, and hold on real tight or flip you off. So it's kind of a safety thing, but the acceleration, once you get going, is really nice. Top speed, more than the stated range at 30 miles an hour, so I like that. The brakes worked well, like I was already saying. The rear fender, just like the G4, keeps the mud off your tire, off your shoes, which is really important since I'm wearing new shoes. The overall ride and comfortability of it is incredible. All this is just like the G4, so I mean, If you're a beginner, get this one. If you're an advanced rider, get the G4. It's as simple as that. So if you have any questions or comments on the G2, please go ahead and leave them below. I'll be happy to answer them for you. I'm also going to leave an affiliate link for the G2 down there, and I'll leave one for the G4 in case you want to go ahead and get that one after watching this video. And it's an affiliate link that helps out my channel but does not cost you any more. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Hobart for Hobart Reviews and the Kukirin G2. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you on the next ride.